Food authenticity testing. Authenticity testing of ingredients and foods is an important tool in the fight against food fraud, but it's not as simple as putting a suspect material into the tricorder from Star Trek and pressing a button. If you've discovered that ingredients you purchase are vulnerable to food fraud, and you've decided you need to check their authenticity, how exactly should you get started? Before you get in touch with a laboratory, you need a plan. How to design a food fraud testing plan. A food fraud testing plan provides a documented framework to follow when arranging authenticity testing of foods and ingredients. Follow the steps below to create a plan. First, define the goals of the testing plan. Because different materials have different food fraud risk profiles, you will need a different testing protocol for each material that you want to test. For each material to be tested, choose a test type and laboratory and set accept reject criteria for test results. The Food Authenticity Network maintains a list of laboratories with expertise in various techniques and commodities, which they call Centres of Expertise, and I've included a link to that in the email and the post. 2. Decide how samples will be collected and define the sample size with the help of your chosen laboratory. For each lot or batch of material that needs to be tested, figure out how to obtain a sample that is properly representative of that batch. Sampling protocols will depend on the size of the lot, the form of the food, that is whether it's solid or liquid or bulk, and the practicalities of accessing materials within the batch. Learn more about sampling protocols from the US FDA's laboratory manual. Again, there's a link. Choose how often you'll test each material and document that in the plan. The initial test frequency should be based on each material's vulnerability to food fraud and the amount of material you purchase. Write down your goals, test methods, accept and reject criteria, sampling procedures, and approved laboratories. This written information will be the foundation for your testing plan document. Add a description of what action you'll take if you get results that confirm or imply authenticity problems with the sample. Who will you report the results to? Who's responsible for making decisions about actions to be taken? Add document control features and file the plan within the food fraud section of your food safety management system. Implement your plan. Be prepared to change your test frequencies or test methods as new information becomes available. And finally, review your plan at least annually to make sure it aligns with your food fraud prevention goals and priorities. And I'm going to finish this little article with a description of some terminology in analytical testing. Precision is a measure of the ability to reproduce an answer between determinations using the same equipment and the same experimental approach. And so that is different to accuracy, which is a measure of how close one can actually measure the true value of the parameter being measured. That's also different from reproducibility, which is a measure of the ability to reproduce an answer by using the same experimental approach, but in different laboratories and using different equipment. Sensitivity is a measure of the lowest concentration of a component that can be detected by a given test, and Specificity is a measure of the ability to detect and quantify specific components within a food material. And this article was originally published in Food Fraud Advisors with additional definitions from Food Analysis, a Practical Guide, published in Food Science and Technology in 2022.